Hi everyone, and today I'm going to be doing a video on irrational fears in Tourette's and OCD. Now, Tourette's is more than tics, and a lot of us have some other symptoms associated which can be very bizarre, and this can include irrational fears, especially if you have co-occurring OCD and obsessive traits. Now, these irrational fears don't actually stem from anywhere, and we don't have a reason for them. Therefore, we can't explain them in a logical or rational way, and we're often confused ourselves as to why we experience them because we just don't know. My experience was, at my sudden onset, I had an extreme aversion to old things, and what I perceived as old was anything from before the onset. It was almost like a now versus then. It was very separate to me. Therefore, I couldn't play with any toys because I remember I felt like I just couldn't go near them. It made me feel tense, uneasy, physically closed in and anxious, and the phantom tics, which are the out-of-body sensations, felt like they were over my toys, meaning that I couldn't play anymore, and that's often why I describe as my Tourette's stole my childhood away like a thief, because I couldn't do the things I wanted to do, and also just the symptoms in general stopped me from doing daily things and took up a lot of my time as well. This obsession with old things also affected the music I listened to, because I couldn't listen to any music that I associated with before my onset, so anything I was raised on, because I'd have to turn it off and just go away from it, because it was a sudden, I can't be near this, I can't listen to this. And I did have some compulsions associated with it as well. I would sometimes say, old thing, old thing, old thing, if I touched it, or if I had encountered it or just seen it, I would have my alarm go off, which is where I would make a blaring alarm noise, and my mum always said she dreaded that sound because she knew that what it meant, that I was going to become distressed because I had encountered these things. And thankfully now I don't experience that anymore, which is good because I can now listen to music that I was raised on, and I was raised on 80s music, and 80s music is great, so it's good that I don't have that anymore. But for some people, the irrational fears and obsessions may be more long-term, prolonged, and even lifelong. Because I have a family member who doesn't actually have diagnosed Tourette's, but they did have phantom tics, motor tics, and obsessions their entire life. And their irrational fears are, they have a few. Shiny things, hair things like hairbands, and jewellery. They can't really go near these things. For example, if there's a hairband left in the bathroom, they can't use the bathroom until it has been removed. And if they encounter any of these fears, they become very defensive, anxious, and sort of just panicky, and they can't deal with it. So everyone has different reactions to it. Mine was more closed in and avoidance and compulsive, whereas this family member's is just very defensive, and they can get very just agitated when seeing these things. And they have had it their entire life, because when they were a child they would bury spoons in the garden to hide them, and their parents apparently did try and expose them to it, but it was just a massive no-no because it didn't work. They also can't go near zips, so I know that one of my jackets has a metallic gold zip on. They can't go near that. They don't feel comfortable when they see people wearing earrings or piercings and certain jewellery. They can't put pin badges on because they just can't touch it. They have to use cutlery with special handles on because they can't have the metal handles, and lots of other things, and it affects them on a daily basis. And thankfully, as I said, there are ways around it. So my family member has learnt to use the cutlery that has got special handles and not the metal ones, but these symptoms can be socially isolating because a lot of people don't understand, and they might think it's funny, but it's actually really not. And we don't have a reason for these things, but just because they're irrational doesn't mean they don't affect us immensely. And it's also debilitating in the sense that we can't do daily tasks or things we want to do because we can't help but avoid it. I think it's important to know this, because if you see someone, obviously know that it's not actually funny and they can't control it, and if you have it yourself, then please know that you're not the only one, as I know at the onset a lot of us are very confused because we don't necessarily understand why we're doing these things or how they're associated with the tics and Tourette's. But Tourette's is a lot more than tics, and sometimes these associated symptoms can affect us just as much or sometimes even more than the tics themselves. I hope this helps. Thank you for watching. Bye!